In my 38 years on the bench, I've seen arrogance. I've seen entitlement. I've seen people try to bend the law, twist it, even mock it. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what happened on March 3rd, 2025, at exactly 10:12 a.m. That was the moment a millionaire walked into my courtroom and said something so outrageous. It changed the course of his life forever. Before I tell you what he said, you need to understand who he was. Daniel Reeves, age 47, CEO of a tech logistics company based out of Chicago. Net worth? Just over $120 million, not a billionaire. But wealthy enough to think the rules didn't apply to him. His case? Simple. Reckless driving, clocked at 97 miles per hour in a 55 zone. Most people in that situation come in nervous, apologetic, hoping for leniency. Daniel Reeves walked in, smiling. Perfect suit, designer watch, confidence radiating off him like he owned the building. And he didn't come alone. 2 attorneys, 1 assistant, and, believe it or not, a social media manager. Yes, he brought someone to record content for a reckless driving case. That's when I knew this wasn't going to be routine. I called the case. State versus Daniel Reeves. His attorney stood up immediately. Your Honor, we'd like to resolve this matter quickly. My client is prepared to pay any applicable fines. Any applicable fines. I looked at Mr. Reeves. Sir, do you understand the severity of driving? Nearly 100 miles per hour on a public road. He shrugged. I was in a hurry. No remorse, no hesitation, just inconvenience. I asked him a simple question. Why didn't you slow down? And that's when everything changed. He leaned forward slightly and said, because I can afford the consequences. The courtroom went silent. I've heard a lot of bad answers in my career. That one was different. Excuse me? I asked. He didn't back down. I make more in a day than most people here make in a year. A speeding ticket? It's nothing. Just a fee. A fee. Not a violation, not a danger, not a crime. A fee. I glanced at his record. This wasn't his first offense, not his second, not even his third. 5 speeding violations in the last 18 months. Every single one paid immediately. No contest, no court appearances, just money, solving the problem. Mr. Reeves, I said, do you believe traffic laws are optional? He smiled. Not optional, just flexible. Flexible. That word echoed in my head. Flexible for who? I asked. For people who can afford them, he replied. At that moment, even his own attorney looked uncomfortable. I leaned back. Let me be very clear. Traffic laws exist to protect lives, not to generate revenue. He shook his head slightly. With respect, Your Honor, everything has a price. And then he said the sentence that sealed his fate. If the penalty is a fine, then it's just legal for a price. You could feel the tension in the room. This wasn't just arrogance anymore. This was belief. Mr. Reeves, I said slowly, are you telling this court that you knowingly endanger others because you believe you can pay your way out of consequences? He didn't hesitate. Yes. One word. That was all it took. I paused. Not for effect, but because I wanted every person in that courtroom to fully absorb what they had just heard. Then I spoke. Thank you, Mr. Reeves. He looked confused. That wasn't the response he expected. Because you've just made this very simple. I began reading from his record. 5 violations, increasing speeds, repeated behavior. This is no longer about speeding, I said. This is about willful disregard for public safety. His smile disappeared. For today's violation, I am not issuing a standard fine. His attorney stood up. Your Honor, sit down. For driving 97 in a 55 zone, combined with your repeated offenses, I am imposing the following sentence. $15,000 fine. His eyes widened. License suspension for 12 months. Now he looked angry. mandatory enrollment in a defensive driving and public safety program, and 100 hours of community service assisting victims of road accidents. Silence. Then he snapped. "This is ridiculous." I raised my hand. "Careful. You're punishing me because I'm successful." "No," I replied calmly. "I'm holding you accountable because you think success excuses irresponsibility." He stepped forward. "You have no idea who you're dealing with. Wrong sentence, wrong courtroom." "Mr. Reeves," I said, "in this room, you are a defendant, nothing more." He laughed. "I'll appeal this. I'll have this overturned in a week." "Maybe," I said, "but today, this is the law." I struck the gavel. Case closed. As officers approached him, his confidence was gone, replaced by something else. Reality. 3 months later, I received a letter, handwritten, from Daniel Reeves. He wrote about the accident victims he met, people who lost family members, people who would never walk again. He wrote, "I thought money protected me. I was wrong. It blinded me." He completed every hour of community service, quietly. No cameras, no social media, because sometimes the purpose of justice isn't just punishment, it's perspective. So if you're watching this right now, and you've ever thought rules don't apply to you, remember this: the law doesn't care how much you make, it only cares what you do. And eventually, everyone answers.
I called the case. Case number PVD-2024-12-8847. State of Rhode Island versus William Ashford III. Parking in a disabled space without proper authorization. November 30th, 2024. His lead attorney stepped forward. Marcus Whitmore, appearing on behalf of Mr. Ashford, Your Honor. We'd like to request a continuance to review the citation and prepare our response. I looked at him. Mr. Whitmore, your client received this citation 3 weeks ago. He's been aware of this court date for 3 weeks. What exactly do you need time to review? Whitmore looked surprised, like he'd expected me to automatically grant whatever he requested. Your Honor, my client is an extremely busy man. He has business interests across multiple states. His time is very valuable. We're simply asking for a reasonable accommodation. Mr. Whitmore, everyone in this courtroom is busy. Everyone's time is valuable. Your client will be treated exactly like every other defendant. No special accommodations. Please take your seat. I could see Whitmore wasn't used to being told no. He glanced back at Ashford, who gave him a slight nod. Whitmore sat down. I looked at William Ashford III. Mr. Ashford, you're here today regarding a citation for parking in a disabled space on November 30th. But I see from your record that this is your 7th violation for this exact same offense in just 2 years. Is that correct? Ashford looked up from his phone with an expression of mild annoyance, like I was interrupting something important. Yes, he said, just that, one word. No, Your Honor, no respect for the court, just yes, like he was answering a telemarketer. I said, Mr. Ashford, I'd like to understand something. Why do you keep parking in disabled spaces when you clearly don't have a disability placard or permit? He stared at me for a moment, then he said in a tone that suggested the answer was obvious, "Because it's convenient." The courtroom went silent, everyone staring. "I'm sorry," I said. "What did you say?" "It's convenient. The disabled spots are always close to the entrance of buildings. I don't like walking from far parking spaces. So I park in the disabled spots. They're closer." I sat there trying to process what I'd just heard. A billionaire was telling me he parked in disabled spaces because he didn't want to walk an extra minute. Mr. Ashford, you understand that disabled parking spaces are reserved for people with disabilities, correct? People who need them? People who can't walk long distances? He shrugged, one shoulder, casual. I understand that, but I pay the fine every time I get a ticket. Look at my record. Every single time I pay immediately. I've paid over $2,000 in fines. That should more than cover the inconvenience to anyone. Should more than cover the inconvenience. Like disabled parking rights were something you could just buy. Mr. Ashford, the fine isn't a parking fee. It's not a transaction where you pay money to use a disabled spot. It's a penalty. A punishment designed to deter you from breaking the law again. He actually smiled. A cold, calculated smile. Your Honor, with all due respect, a $500 fine doesn't deter me. I probably spend more than that on lunch. The fine is completely meaningless to me. So yes, I pay it, I absorb it as a cost of doing business, and I move on with my day. I probably spend more than that on lunch. I've been a judge for 43 years. My father was a judge before me. He taught me that everyone, and I mean everyone, is equal in the eyes of the law. The janitor and the CEO stand on the same ground in a courtroom. But William Ashford III didn't believe that, not for a second. I said, "Mr. Ashford, do you understand the purpose of disabled parking spots? They exist to help people with mobility issues, people in wheelchairs, people using walkers, people who physically cannot walk long distances. They need those spots close to entrances." I understand the concept, Your Honor. Then why do you take their spots? If the spots are empty when I arrive, what's the harm? I'm using an empty space. Nobody is being denied anything. But what if someone who needs that spot arrives after you've taken it? Another shrug. Then they can park somewhere else. Then they can park somewhere else. A person with a disability, a person in a wheelchair, can just park somewhere far away and struggle to get to where they're going. Because William Ashford III didn't feel like walking. I felt anger rising. I've learned to control it over the years, to stay professional. But this was testing me. Mr. Ashford, have you ever considered that your actions are selfish, disrespectful, that you're putting your minor convenience above other people's genuine needs? His face changed. The bored expression vanished, was replaced by something harder. Your Honor, I don't appreciate the accusatory tone. I don't appreciate being lectured like a child. I pay my taxes, significant taxes. I employ 2,400 people across my various business interests. I donate millions of dollars to charitable causes every year. I sit on the boards of 3 hospitals and 2 universities. I think I've earned the right to make my own decisions about where I park. Earned the right. Success and wealth had earned him the right to break laws designed to help disabled people. Mr. Ashford, wealth and success don't give you the right to break the law. Community contributions don't exempt you from basic human decency. He laughed, actually laughed out loud, a harsh sound. Your Honor, let me explain something about the real world. Everything gives me the right. Money, power, influence, connections. I have all of those things. And in the real world, not in this courtroom, but in the actual world where things get done, those things matter far more than parking regulations. The courtroom gasped. Even his attorneys looked uncomfortable. One of them tried to stand up, probably to stop his client from talking, but Ashford waved him down. I'm being honest here. I've built an empire worth billions. I've created thousands of jobs. I've developed properties that revitalized entire neighborhoods. I've donated tens of millions to charities. I know governors, senators, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. People at that level don't answer to traffic court judges. That's just reality. I sat there looking at this man, this billionaire who genuinely believed he was above the law, that his money made him special. Mr. Ashford, are you seriously telling this court that you believe you're above the law? He met my eyes, didn't hesitate. I'm telling you that laws are suggestions for people who can't afford to ignore them. I can afford to ignore them, so I do. Laws are suggestions for people who can't afford to ignore them. I let those words hang in the air. Let everyone in the courtroom absorb what they'd just heard. Mr. Ashford, I've reviewed your record. 7 violations in 2 years. You've paid every fine immediately. You've never contested, never tried to fight the charges. You just pay and keep breaking the same law. Why? That cold smile came back. Because it's cheaper than caring, Your Honor. A $500 fine means absolutely nothing to me. It's not even a rounding error in my finances. I make more than that in interest income while we're standing here talking. So yes, I park in disabled spots. And yes, I'll continue to park in disabled spots. Because the cost of the punishment is completely irrelevant to my life. He paused, looked around the courtroom, then back at me. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Are you still watching? Drop a comment right now and tell me what you would do if you were in my position. Would you stay calm? Would you explode? Let me know, because what happened next shocked everyone in that courtroom. I said very quietly, Is that so, Mr. Ashford? That is absolutely so. You can fine me $500. I'll have my assistant pay it before I leave this parking lot. You can fine me $5,000. I'll still pay it without even noticing. You can fine me $50,000. It won't impact my life in any measurable way. So go ahead, Judge. Fine me whatever you want. I'll pay it. But I'm still going to park wherever I want to park. His attorneys were frantically writing notes. They knew their client was digging himself into a hole. But Ashford didn't care. He actually stepped closer to my bench and delivered what he clearly thought was the crushing blow. Your Honor, do you know what I'm worth? I'll tell you since it's public information anyway. According to Forbes magazine, I'm worth $8.9 billion. With a B. Do you know what you make? I looked it up before I came here. Rhode Island Superior Court judges make $189,000 per year. That's a nice salary. Respectable. But I make that, your entire annual salary, in about 4 hours. Every 4 hours I earn what you earn in a year. He let that sink in. Then he said the 3 words that would destroy him. So when I say there's nothing you can do about it, I mean it literally. I own you. The courtroom exploded. Gasps, shouts. Someone yelled, "Oh my God!" My bailiff, Officer Jackson, immediately stepped forward, hand moving toward his weapon. I held up my hand. Everyone went silent. "Mr. Ashford, what did you just say to me?" He smiled wider, proud of what he'd said. "I said I own you. I own this courtroom. I own this building. My family has been in Rhode Island for over 200 years. We've owned half of Newport since the 1800s. I've personally donated $40 million to this state over the past decade. I have the governor's personal cell phone number. I play golf with the mayor every month. I have 3 state senators who return my calls immediately." He stepped even closer to my bench. "So yes, Your Honor, I own you. Your entire yearly income is a rounding error in my daily earnings. People like you don't tell people like me what to do. That's just reality. That's just how the world works." I sat there for 30 seconds, just looking at him. This man who thought his $8.9 billion made him untouchable. Then I spoke. "Mr. Ashford, thank you." He looked confused. That wasn't the response he expected. "Thank you for that speech. That incredibly revealing, incredibly arrogant, incredibly stupid speech. Because you've just made my job very, very easy." His smile started to fade. "You've just admitted, on the record, in front of 40 witnesses and a court reporter taking down every word, that you knowingly and deliberately violate disabled parking laws because you can afford to pay the fines. You've stated clearly that you consider yourself above the law. You've attempted to intimidate a sitting judge. You've boasted about your wealth and connections in an obvious attempt to influence this court. And you've told me directly that you own me." The smile disappeared completely. "So let me tell you what I'm going to do with that information. First, for this current violation, parking in a disabled space without authorization on November 30th, 2024, I am not fining you $500. He started to interrupt. I cut him off. "Under Rhode Island General Law 31-27-2.2, judges are authorized to impose fines up to $50,000 for willful and repeated violations of disabled parking regulations. You've admitted this is your 7th violation. You've admitted it's willful and repeated. So I'm fining you $50,000. His mouth fell open. He looked genuinely shocked. "Second, I'm ordering you to complete 200 hours of mandatory community service. Not just any community service. You're going to work specifically with disabled individuals at the Rhode Island Independent Living Center. You'll help people with disabilities with daily tasks, mobility assistance, transportation, whatever they need. 200 hours. His face was turning red. "Third, I am suspending your driver's license for 6 months, effective immediately. If you cannot respect the rights of disabled people to accessible parking, then you do not deserve the privilege of operating a motor vehicle." "Your Honor, this is outrageous. I'm not finished. Fourth, I am referring this entire matter to the Rhode Island Attorney General's office for review. Your statements here today, combined with your documented pattern of repeated violations, suggest potential criminal charges for deliberate, willful, systematic violation of state disability accommodation laws." The attorneys were all on their feet, all talking at once. I ignored them. "Fifth and finally, I am issuing a special court order. If William Ashford III is cited for parking in any disabled space anywhere in the state of Rhode Island, at any time in the next 5 years, he will be held in contempt of this court and will face immediate incarceration. Minimum 30 days in the adult correctional institutions. No exceptions. The courtroom erupted, people shouting, Ashford's attorneys surrounding him. I banged my gavel, hard. Order! I will have order! Everyone quieted. Mr. Ashford, I'm going to give you one opportunity, one chance. You have 24 hours from right now to issue a public apology to the disabled community of Rhode Island. A real apology, not written by your PR team. From you, acknowledging what you did wrong, showing genuine remorse. I looked at him hard. If you do that, if you show actual genuine remorse, I will reduce your fine from $50,000 to $10,000. And I'll reduce your community service from 200 hours to 100 hours. The license suspension stays. The Attorney General referral stays. The 5-year contempt provision stays. But I'll show you mercy you haven't shown anyone else. I paused. If you do not apologize within 24 hours, the full sentence stands. $50,000 fine, 200 hours community service, 6-month license suspension, criminal referral, 5 years of contempt liability. I banged the gavel. You have 24 hours starting now. Court is in recess. I started to leave. That's when William Ashford made his final catastrophic mistake. He screamed at me. You can't do this to me. Do you know who I am? I'll destroy you. I'll have your job. I turned around slowly. Mr. Ashford, you are now in contempt of court for threatening a judge. Officer Jackson, take Mr. Ashford into custody immediately. What? You can't arrest me. Officer Jackson and 2 other bailiffs moved toward him. Ashford backed away. Don't you touch me. I'm William Ashford. I'm worth $9 billion. The handcuffs went on. William Ashford III, billionaire, wearing a $10,000 suit and a $31 million watch, being handcuffed in my courtroom. This is illegal. I'll sue. I know the governor. I'll have you removed from the bench. Mr. Ashford, if you don't stop threatening me, I'll add additional charges. I strongly suggest you be quiet. They led him toward the door. He was still yelling, still making threats, voice echoing. His 4 attorneys just stood there, frozen, shocked. After he was removed, something unexpected happened. The courtroom erupted in applause. 40 people standing, clapping, cheering. I rarely see that. Judges aren't supposed to receive applause. But these people had watched a billionaire tell a judge he owned him, had watched him show contempt for disabled people, had watched him claim laws didn't apply to him, and they'd watched him face real consequences. Over the next 24 hours, my phone rang 7 times. A state senator, 2 businessmen, several attorneys, all trying to influence my decision, all suggesting William Ashford was too important to punish harshly. I documented every call, every attempt to pressure me, because this was exactly what Ashford had predicted, that his connections would protect him. He was about to learn he was wrong. The 24-hour deadline came and went, no apology. Ashford's attorneys had advised him not to apologize because it could be used against him in civil litigation. So the full sentence stood: $50,000 fine, 200 hours community service, 6-month license suspension, Attorney General referral, 5-year contempt provision. He appealed everything, every single aspect. All appeals were denied. The appellate judges upheld my sentences completely. He paid the $50,000, started his community service, surrendered his license. The Attorney General opened a formal investigation. And something interesting happened. About 3 weeks after that courtroom confrontation, I received a letter, handwritten, from William Ashford III. He wrote about his experience at the Independent Living Center, about meeting veterans who'd lost limbs, people with cerebral palsy, teenagers with muscular dystrophy, about how they'd told him about people taking their spots, about missing appointments, about being treated as invisible. He wrote, I was wrong, not just legally wrong, morally wrong, fundamentally wrong as a human being. He was withdrawing all appeals, accepting the full sentence, and he was establishing the Ashford Accessibility Foundation. $50 million personal donation for wheelchair ramps, modified vehicles, accessibility modifications for disabled people. I don't know if that letter was completely genuine. Maybe there was some PR calculation. But I want to believe it was real, because that's what justice should do. Not just punish, transform. Today, 6 months later, William Ashford has completed his community service. The foundation is real. $50 million committed, already helping people. The Attorney General's investigation continues, but something changed. In him, in everyone who watched. People saw that wealth doesn't protect you from consequences, that I own you doesn't work, that the law applies equally to everyone, even billionaires, especially billionaires. Before I close, I want to say something to anyone watching who has ever felt powerless, who's faced some
Careful. You're punishing me because I'm successful. No, I replied calmly. I'm holding you accountable because you think success excuses irresponsibility. He stepped forward. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Wrong sentence, wrong courtroom. Mr. Reeves, I said, in this room, you are a defendant, nothing more. He laughed. I'll appeal this. I'll have this overturned in a week. Maybe, I said. But today, this is the law. I struck the gavel. Case closed. As officers approached him, his confidence was gone.